Do you want to know the #1 tool that ends power struggles without punishment? I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach all over the world about parenting, good communication, how to build strong family bonds, and calmness, all through the lens of the principles self-government. And in this video, we're talking about one tool that is a game changer. In this video, we're going to be talking about why parents power struggle with their children. There are reasons they don't just power struggle willy-nilly. Well, okay, some of them do, but we're going to talk about that. I'm also going to share with you a story, a real story of a parent who had a change in the way that they practiced their parenting interactions and that led them away from power struggling and what happened with their child. Then we're going to talk about what you can do to not engage in a power struggle. So what is that one tool that you need and why does it work? Let's get started. Many parents don't like to punish their children. They don't like how it feels. They don't want to be that parent that is always being negative with their children all of the time, but they feel like they don't know what else to do. You know, they try being super nice and maybe even trying to be the child's friend, and then the child just gets worse and worse behaviorally. And by the way, this actually is a very natural occurrence for human nature. When somebody just gives you what you want all the time and you feel like you have complete control, you push the boundaries more and more and more, and soon you become the person who is in control. Many parents start feeling like they're losing complete control. Their child is taking over control, probably because the parent has been a little bit too permissive. If you have been on this channel for a little while, then you know I have multiple videos where I talk about the different styles or types of parenting, and that permissive parenting is very troublesome. In fact, it's probably the most destructive form of parenting that there could be, even more destructive than that bully fear-based type of parenting. So because you're ruining the child's identity. The child loses their role. Roles are so important that at one point I even wrote a book about it called Roles. Because in our society, we're actually losing that vital information. Who are we to each other in a family? And I don't mean just responsibilities, but really who are we? What is the role of mother? What is the role of father? What is the role of 15-year-old daughter or 7-year-old son? What is the role? Who are they? Do they know who they are? Because they can lose those roles, and if so, the whole family falls into dysfunction. If, for instance, the parents don't recognize that part of their role is to be teachers, or the child doesn't recognize that a part of their role is to be a learner from their parents, if the learners don't learn or the teachers don't teach, then the family experiences dysfunction. But many parents feel like, then I don't know what else to do. Here I am, I'm in this moment with my child, and I'm trying to get them to change their behavior. I'm trying to get them to change their attitude, their tone, their willingness to help out around the house, and nothing seems to be working. The only thing that seems to work is for me to get on their level and be just as emotional as they are. So let's talk about the dynamics of a power struggle. The whole point of a power struggle is to emotionally vent on another person to get them to be emotional with you. Some people think that during a power struggle, the ultimate truth comes out. Maybe. Usually what happens is the ultimate panic comes out, or the ultimate control strategy comes out. When a person is engaging in a power struggle, it's more about getting the upper hand and the win than it is about truly understanding each other. Because this is not a front brain activity. Power struggling is a midbrain at best activity, but usually a back brain activity. Anyone can start a power struggle. A parent can start a power struggle. They do it all the time because their tone will be wrong, or they'll grab their child, or they'll start to not understand the child starts to panic and then engages in a power struggle with whining, complaining, debating, negotiating, whatever it is that they feel like they need to do to get their parent to seek to understand them when their parent is being emotional. The child can also start a power struggle. So what do we do to not engage in these power struggles, to not feel like that's our only hope? Many people engage in the power struggles because they think it's faster to just get emotional. They think then people will know how they feel. And people do feel satisfied when other people recognize how they feel. There's a type of a healing component that comes with expressing your feelings to other people. And this is why people dump their feelings out on other people. What they don't choose to think about before they go dumping and vomiting their feelings all over the place is this going to be productive? Is it going to help us solve the problem? It's good to understand each other, to talk about our feelings sometimes, but it's also really good to solve our problems when we're in the right part of our brain, which is that prefrontal cortex, and we can't do that if we're being emotional and we're engaging in a power struggle. I had a conversation with a mother a little while ago, and she talked about her son and how they were struggling in their relationship. This particular mother was arguing with her son a lot. He was negotiating with her. He was like 11 or 12 years old, if I remember correctly. And she felt like he would not listen to her. And all they ended up doing was fighting all of the time until there came a point where she just had to get mad. And then when she would get mad enough, he would finally listen. But she was worried that would there come a point that her being mad wouldn't do enough for him because he was getting older and bigger? Well, that's a reality that a lot of parents face. And sometimes they just give up. Or they try to get somebody who is bigger, like maybe dad or like maybe the police or something, to try to crack down on this child's bad behavior. Well, she and I had a conversation. And I taught her some skills of self-government. I taught her how to teach him the skills of self-government. She put these skills into practice for a few weeks. We had another conversation. I loved this conversation because she came to me and she said, you know what? I was feeding it and I didn't realize I was feeding it. Every time I would get angry at him, he could see that he was powerful and getting something out of this. But that wasn't the type of power I wanted to teach my son. She chose calmness. She chose to follow her skills, accept her skills, this one tool that we're going to talk about next, right after this. And suddenly, life was predictable. Everybody knew who was going to say what and when, how things were going to be corrected. And he just chose to be calm and be okay. This same circumstance happened to me when I was on an international BBC television show. So in 2009, the BBC made a documentary of our family called The World's Strictest Parents. In fact, you can see reaction videos to that video here on the channel. You also can see the full episode on my website, teachingselfgovernment.com, if you want to go there. With that video, they saw for 2 days 2 teens that were 17 years old yelling at us, swearing at us, trying to get their way by power struggle. And it didn't work. We were calm, we had a plan, we taught them ahead of time everything that we would say with them, and we stuck to the plan, we stuck to the words, and guess what? After 2 days, they said, okay, we'll be calm. And then for the whole rest of the episode, they were fine. And at the end of the episode, they were bawling. What people don't know is that they actually came to us and said, please don't make us go. We feel so safe here. Now, it's not that they didn't love their families or want to go home. Obviously, they probably did, but they loved the connection of the environment. They loved feeling understood. They loved solving their problems. They loved being empowered by that calm, connective communication. Did I stop correcting anything that they were doing that was wrong? No, I kept doing it, but they could accept it, because I consistently stuck to the plan. Their power struggle did nothing for them. So they changed their skills and became empowered in the meantime. Did you know that punishing your children in the heat of the moment in a power struggle often fuels resentment and disconnection? It does. Do you want a change of heart? That's what self-government's all about. We need to be planned. We've got to have skills ready to handle the problems. This one tool, this script that I'm going to be talking about next with you, is predictable if you teach it to your children ahead of time. They will always know what is coming. They will know their role in the correction, your role in the correction. They won't take it personally, and guess what? You don't have to take it personally either. If nobody's taking the interactions personally, then we don't have a power struggle. If you prepare ahead of time, and if your focus is on self-mastery, meaning the parent masters themselves and the child masters themselves too, They understand how they work. They plan the skills that they need. This leads to self-government and skill building so that a person can be an effective communicator, an effective problem solver, and a confident, mature adult instead of being somebody who constantly feels like everybody's out to get them and has to just emotionally unload on everyone all the time. Are you ready for that one tool? I think we've had a lot of education and preparation for why this one tool is really helpful. Let's get into this deep dive about correction. So there are 5 different teaching styles that I teach in my parenting course, which is the TSG parenting course. You can find that at teachingselfgovernment.com. In that parenting course, the correction skill is vital. You can't handle those totally out of control behaviors, those massive tantrums when people are completely dysregulated, if you don't have the correction skill. Now, the correction skill is part of a greater skill that you use for older children called the rule of 3. I don't know if I'm going to get fully into the rule of 3 in this video because I really want to go deep into the correction and why that works, okay? So what makes a really good correction? Well, if it's a self-government correction, then that means it sheds light on what's truthfully happening and what truthfully needs to happen in order to solve the problem. The first 3 steps of that effective correction are probably the most important steps because they engage the prefrontal cortex. So if you can remember, a person who's starting to power struggle with you, and by the way, the sooner you go to the correction, the better. Okay? Don't let them go further. Don't negotiate, and then go, I think we need to correct this. As soon as they don't have a calm face, voice, and body, as soon as they start disagreeing in a way with you that's not appropriate, so those 4 basic skills of self-government that I talk about on this channel all the time are following instructions, accepting no answers and criticism, accepting consequences, and disagreeing appropriately. If they don't use the steps to those 4 basic skills, you've got to do something and do it fast. Okay? And that something that you do is the correction step. The first thing you do is you describe, just now, this is what happened. I gave you an instruction and you would not look at me. In fact, you looked at the ground and you said, fine, and then you walked off to do it. But that's not following an instruction. So I hope you understood there that even if the child walks off to clean their room, if they don't look at me and keep a calm face, voice, and body, they don't say okay or ask to disagree appropriately, then I'm going to stop them from going to clean the room because it's not about a clean room to me. It's about whether a person can self-regulate, whether they can communicate well, whether they can honor the roles in the family. And if they can do those things, then I'm going to allow them to go and do whatever chore or instruction that I had for them. But if not, we need to fix the calmness first. We need to fix the tone first, the body language first, and then we'll get to actually cleaning the room. So I say, even though you were going to clean the room, you didn't have that calm face, voice, and body. And when you choose to look down and say, fine, that actually puts you in a bad mood. It could even be that you're telling yourself that somebody doesn't understand. And I really do want to understand you. That's why I want you to even disagree appropriately with me if you feel like you need to. So what you should have done if you didn't want to clean the room right then is you should have looked at me, kept a calm face, voice, and body, and then said, okay, may I disagree appropriately? And then you could have used your skill set for your disagree appropriately skill. Then I say what they earned as far as their negative consequence. So I hope you're following. When a person is corrected, they first see what happened, and then they see why it wasn't a good idea for them to do it that way. Then you tell them what they should have done. We are at that point. Those are the first 3 steps of a correction, and they will be used all over the place. In fact, you can use them with coworkers, parents, spouses, the dog if you want. You can use those 3 skills with anybody who can reason with you and understands. Even small children who can't communicate yet can learn that flow of communication with those first 3 steps of a correction, and they'll know when they're being corrected and when they need to change their behavior. So after you do step number 3, then you tell the child what they earned. So when I am correcting a person, when I'm teaching them self-government, then I don't give them consequences or do something to them. They have to have the opportunity to accept a consequence to actually be able to learn self-government. Otherwise, I'm just doing something to them. So I tell them that they earned their negative consequence. Now, in our family, we use certain things for negative consequences that build character and that a person has to choose to do, so it's not something that just happens to them. I like to use extra chores because Samuel Smiles says that work is an antidote for a sick character. In fact, I have an entire app called the Teaching Self-Government app. You can see videos about that on this channel. You can find it for free in the app stores. And that app has a way to track chores that children have earned or the chores that they're doing in the household, will help you more easily use chores as a negative consequence in your family. So I tell them, you've earned an extra chore. Then I say, okay. Now they know a skill called accepting a consequence. One of the steps of that skill is to say, okay, with a calm face, voice, and body. So they say, okay, then I praise them. I wish I could get fully into praise here on this video, but it just would get too long. There are other videos on this channel that do relate to how to do a really effective praise, so I'm not going to go into detail there. But I praise the children multiple times during a correction. I praise them for saying okay. Then we start doing some role play practice of how to do things the right way. We might be going back to the original instruction, and then we role play that out, doing it the right way. And they do all 5 steps of following an instruction, then I praise them for that. We might then switch roles in another role play where they're the parent giving me an instruction and I'm the child. Now, of course, we're just pretending. We're not going to mess up roles in the family, but it helps them see the other side of the interaction. And then they're going to praise me and I'm going to praise them for being such a great parent and praising me. Then we'll do another interaction where I'm the parent, they're the child. We practice using our skill again, and then they get praised again. So now they've been praised 4 times. At this point, they go and actually do the negative consequence that they've earned, which is possibly that extra chore. Then they're going to come and check back because that is the last step for accepting a consequence. I'm going to praise them again. So you see, there are 5 praises that happen during this one correction. This is why you can end up feeling closer, more optimistic, more hopeful, and empowered because of the correction, instead of feeling like you're terrible and it's horrible. That shouldn't be the tone in the home, not if a person is going to hopefully and optimistically learn self-government. So we've talked about pre-teaching things ahead of time. We've talked about practicing through role-playing. We've mentioned how important praising is. We've also spent some time talking about the exact steps to a correction. I know you probably could have a little bit more practice there because you're going to be using that all the time. And I also mentioned that those steps to correction are going to be steps that are used in our intensive teaching moments when people go completely out of control. We use that step of correction with 2 other skills that are part of the rule of 3. So when we do those 3 things 3 times, one of those is a correction. If this resonated with you, if this seems like this could help you, there is more that I have for you. Really, our first stop is your calmness. I've got a skill for that. I've got help with that. There's actually a Calm Parenting Toolkit that I have on my website right now that you can have for free. So if you go to my website, you can get the Calm Parenting Toolkit. This is a first mini step toward learning self-government. It's not going to teach you everything, but it will help you when you have that next moment where they're going out of control. It will help you stay in control and help them get back to calmness so that you can start doing more of these corrections in a calm and productive manner. So go to teachingselfgovernment.com, click on the Calm Parenting Toolkit next, and I'll see you there.